I'm an honest man who's addicted to picking up someone else's mess. The first time, I picked up a nightclub beauty who had been beaten black and blue by some big shot because she refused to drink with clients. I supported her for half a year. She swore she would treat me well, but on a rainy night, she disappeared without a word, leaving behind only a red woven string she claimed was a family heirloom. I didn't give up. The second time, I picked up a campus goddess who had been bullied at school and wanted to end her life. She cried a lot, often sobbing that I was her whole world. This one was even shorter. Half a month later, she got into a luxury car and left with someone else, leaving me a teddy bear she said was also a family heirloom. Finally, I reflected deeply and resolved to change my ways. But then I saw a band's female lead singer passed out drunk on the street. And so, as a white knight, the urge in my hands to pick someone up began to stir once again. Once is a mistake, twice is a lesson, there won't be a third time. This time, I'm sure I'll finally get lucky. Chapter 1. This hobby of mine has been going on for many years. When I was a kid, I liked picking up pets other people had thrown away, turtles, rabbits, that kind of thing, and taking them home to raise. When I grew up, I started picking up homeless beauties instead. People who know me curse me, call me trash, call me a simp. Fine, I'll take that. But if you call me blind, then I'll really lose my temper. Every woman whose mess I've taken over was a beauty. Okay, leave me alone, bros. I've got my own rhythm. Sometimes I even hate my damn hands. But when I saw Willow collapsed by the roadside with drunken, unfocused eyes, she looked nothing like that radiant, energetic, youthful band vocalist on screen. A plucked phoenix is no better than a chicken. Right now she was pitiful beyond words. And yet, there was a different kind of allure to her. This model, I hadn't taken over before. That familiar urge to be the rebound guy for a beautiful woman stirred again. I hesitated, then walked over and asked, "Willow, are you okay?" Willow replied gently, "Get lost." I didn't get discouraged. With a shameless grin, I kept going. "You don't look well. Do you want to come to my place and rest for a bit?" The intention was way too obvious, so I hurriedly licked my lips and added with a smile, "I won't do anything to you." Willow lifted her head in disdain. Her hazy eyes were full of disgust at first, but when she clearly saw my face, she visibly froze for a moment. Not to brag, but I'm pretty confident about this face of mine. Maybe not exactly Brad Pitt level, but if I entered the entertainment industry, making some top 100 handsome men list would be no problem. Seizing the moment, I pressed on. "Come with me. My name's George, here's my ID. It's too cold tonight. You'll get sick if you stay out here." Then I added, "I'm your fan. I listen to your Searching for Stars every day." To be honest, most of the time I was really just watching the hot dance parts of her music videos. As soon as I finished speaking, a shadow fell over me. It turned out Willow was swaying as she stood up. She leaned against me in a half-hug, half-support posture and urged, "Let's go, fan." That easy. This woman is way too casual. But then again, my intentions weren't exactly pure either. So whatever. Willow came out of my bathroom wrapped in nothing but a towel. Clear droplets of water slid down from her beautiful collarbones and disappeared into the drain. I glanced a few times without thinking, my hands never stopping. I was about to peel an apple to make some sobering soup. "Your stomach feels uncomfortable, right?" I said gently. "I saw you drink so much tonight. I made some sobering soup. Have some to warm your stomach. Are you done peeling?" Willow's cool voice, tinged with a hint of seduction, came from beside my ear. "You don't mind if I eat some, do you?" Hiss. I instinctively raised my hand. A string of blood beads welled up from my index finger. Willow frowned slightly, stepped closer, and took my hand. Her fingers were long and pale, her chest pressed very close. A wave of warmth radiated from her body. Restlessness surged in my chest. She said, "Your hand is bleeding." Her long eyelashes lowered as her eyes carefully examined my finger. I was about to say it was nothing, but Willow lowered her head. Warm breath surrounded me. Dazed, I thought to myself, even if my original goal wasn't to hook up with her, she practically delivered herself to my door. Well then, I might as well accept it with a smile. The next morning, I stood on the balcony, pulled out a cigarette, and fell into deep thought. I never expected that yesterday had been her first time. Her tense body was trembling. I had to comfort her for ages. Still, she got into it pretty quickly. I lit the lighter and savored the memory. Willow still hadn't woken up. I sighed. She really can't take much. Sigh, what else can I do? I already picked her up, might as well keep her around and raise her. Chapter 2. My life was ruined by this hobby. Without realizing it, I picked up so many beautiful women. Thinking back, the first woman I ever picked up was named Freya, a real stunner. She had a pair of peach blossom eyes. Every glance was full of allure. How should I put it? She looked deeply affectionate. She could look at a dog the same way someone looks at their first love. Back then, I was a college student doing part-time jobs. She had been beaten black and blue and dumped in the back alley of the venue. A big sister who often looked out for me said she'd cover my shift and told me to take her away. She whispered in my ear. I heard a customer wanted her to keep him company. She refused and got beaten. The boss settled it, but doesn't want her anymore. I took her back to my rented place, $300 a month, a single room with nothing but a broken little wooden bed. I bought some iodine and anti-inflammatory medicine. In the middle of the night, she developed a fever and started talking nonsense. I had to call a cab and rush her to the ER, spending several hundred I could barely afford. And then, following the trail of my burning cigarette, I looked toward the buildings across the street. Freya was smiling and holding a bottle of perfume on a gigantic billboard. Next to her portrait were the words, International Best Actress, Freya. When she latched onto some rich tycoon and got into a Bentley without a backward glance, she probably didn't remember that she still owed me several hundred in medical bills. Sigh. On the very day she left, I picked up another girl, a pure and pretty female college student. Unfortunately, that one ran away too. Sigh. That's probably the fate of us white knights. Too honest, too fond of beautiful women, and when the beauties keep running off, all we can do is keep accepting new ones. Chapter 3. Willow woke up. When she did, I was standing by the window. As she walked over, I asked, "Want a puff?" She tied up her hair, answering with actions instead of words. Eating such a hearty meal first thing in the morning really pushed my stamina to its limits. Letting her hook her arm through mine, I took her to a roadside breakfast stall near the apartment complex. From the moment we lined up, people kept staring at her. She ignored them completely. After sitting down, she casually wiped the table with a wet tissue. Completely drained, I started eating like I'd been reincarnated from a starving ghost. Her phone rang. She said irritably, "Where did I go? Didn't I already say I quit?" "I'll say it again. I quit." Willow emphasized each word through clenched teeth, her expression furious, nothing like the pitiful state she was in yesterday. The voice on the other end snapped back. "You quit? Who do you think you are? If you don't do it, plenty of others will. Just wait and pay up." Shameless trash. The filthy rant cut off instantly as Willow decisively hung up. I struggled to swallow a bite of bun and asked, "So, Willow, you're not working now?" She snorted softly. "Yeah." She ate a braised egg. I said, "Then I'll support you." I looked at her seriously. That's the basic professionalism of a white knight. Willow fell silent at my words. Then she reached out, poked my forehead, and laughed softly. Blinking, she said, "Sure." I took a deep breath. That easy. Could it be that this rebellious Liu family heiress who ran away from home also lacks love? Suddenly, there was some noise behind us. A voice called out, "Miss, what are you doing here?" Another woman chimed in, "Yeah, this place is such a dump, and full of poor people." The woman who said that seemed to draw angry glares from others, but she didn't care and continued, "What are you staring at? Do you even know these shoes of mine are worth 10 years of your wages?" A female voice I once knew very well sounded from behind. She said, "Just walking around. I have class soon anyway." Then that person suddenly said, "Miss, over there, that guy looks like your boyfriend." The sycophantic voice suddenly stuttered. The next second, "George, who is she?" I slowly swallowed the bun and turned around. The pure-looking female college student I had once supported, the one who claimed she had no way out because of bullying, was standing together with the very people who once bullied her. Her eyes red as she stared at me. Chapter 4. The innocent-looking female college student was named Sophia. She was the famous campus belle of C University. Her face alone had even landed her on trending searches. Now she stood there with reddened eyes, indeed carrying a pitiful, delicate air about her. She looked like she was about to cry again. Beside me, Willow suddenly remarked with feeling, "She even cries pretty." "Huh?" Before I could say anything, Sophia couldn't hold it in anymore. With a face full of resentment, she demanded, "George, who is she?" She looked exactly like someone catching a mistress in the act. I struggled to swallow the last bite of my bun and replied, "What business is it of yours?" Willow was tactful. She pushed the soy milk over, stuck in a straw, and handed it to me. Sophia's best friend couldn't stand it anymore and was the first to jump in on her behalf. "Oh wow, where did this old woman come from? She's got a bit of looks." "Sure, but she's way too old, and kind of shameless too, seducing my bestie's boyfriend." She paused, then continued, "But you do look kinda familiar. Don't tell me you had your face done to copy some celebrity. Makes sense, when you're old. You should fix your face instead of coming out here to embarrass yourself." No matter how well-mannered Willow was, her face still turned green from the insults. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. These little clique members were exactly the same as when I first met them. Their mouths were so sweet, it was like they'd been smeared with shit. The first time I picked up Sophia was on a rooftop. She stood at the edge with a look of utter despair, while the people bullying her laughed loudly, deliberately provoking her to jump. Down below were clueless onlookers, and even some thrill-seekers who grew impatient, disappointed that she still hadn't jumped. The firefighters had already laid out the safety air cushion, but as I looked at the pitiful, helpless Sophia, amid the background noise of "jump" and "hurry up and jump already," Sophia stared straight at me. What rose in my heart wasn't sympathy. It was an unbearable rage, because the reason she'd been bullied to the point of wanting to jump off the building was fake. Chapter 5. Even though I love picking up beautiful women, we white knights still have principles. The kind who throws herself at me. I screen the goods. She's a pampered rich girl. The greatest hardship she's ever endured is probably coffee without sugar. She's read too many romance novels and is obsessed with playing those redemption games, wants me to be the one who saves her. When I was working part-time at the bar, doing cleaning, security, waiter work, tidying up rooms, I overheard her casual laughter from inside a private booth. She said, "I'm really good at training dogs. Honest guys need to be handled like this. Let that stinking loser really think he can save me. When the truth comes out, the look on his face will be priceless. By then, I can control him however I want." Her little clique burst into cheers, crisp clinks of glasses ringing out. I quietly closed the booth door. People this arrogant never see those around them. That's how easily I learned Sophia's entire plan. So when she started trying to seduce me, I pretended to be a dense, iron-willed straight guy who didn't get it at all. She staged a falling out with her best friends, pretended her family had fallen on hard times, claimed she was being bullied by her peers, and I immediately stepped in to protect her. In the end, when she felt the drama needed a climax, she directed and acted out that whole rooftop jumping scene, having her best friend tip me off in advance. The angrier I felt, the calmer I became. I put on a soothing smile and said, "Sophia, come to me. If they don't want you, I do." Her wet eyes lit up instantly, like an abandoned puppy being found again. She said, "George, are you really willing to be with me?" I said, "Yes." "Come to my side. Let me touch you." I encouraged her gently, extending my hand. She walked toward me slowly, then I yanked her over. Years of physical work had given me real strength. I pulled her in hard and held her tightly, like I was clutching a treasure I'd almost lost. I said, "Sophia, be my little dog." She hesitated for a split second, then finally choked out, "Okay." She was crying, but she hugged me back. My heartbeat was pounding, hers was too. We held each other tightly, as if the whole world had narrowed down to just the two of us. She didn't see the fury in my eyes. That fury ignited a side of me no one knew existed. "You and your bestie bet that you could make me be your dog in a month." "Heh, then let's see. In the end, who's really whose dog?" Chapter 6. So even when she cried like pear blossoms in the rain, it didn't stir a shred of pity in me. Her face was slightly flushed, as if she still hadn't quite come back to her senses. Her skin was very pale, marks showed up beautifully on it. I reached out and stroked the attack speed tattoo on her chest. I had it tattooed for myself. Freshly done, it looked even better. She finally caught her breath and clung to me again. I pulled out a cigarette. Sophia was very obedient. She held up the lighter and lit it for me. As a reward, I pinched her cheek. It felt nice, smooth, delicate skin. Then I lightly slapped her face. She didn't say anything, just touched her cheek and smiled. Well, who told this young miss to play obedient here? At first, when I did this, I could still sense a bit of anger in her, but later on, maybe she just got used to it. Sophia asked me, "Husband, you'll never leave me, right?" If I didn't know exactly what kind of person she was, I might really have thought she was some love-starved puppy. I sneered inwardly, but looking into her eyes, I made a heartfelt confession. "Of course, Sophia is my most obedient little dog. As long as you don't run away on your own, I'll definitely stay with you forever." Her face flushed slightly, no idea if it was from my slap or not. She pouted and said, "But little dogs are sometimes disobedient too. If a little dog makes a mistake, wouldn't husband abandon it?" I let out a cold laugh and said, "Yeah, is a disobedient dog still my dog? It should go roll off and wander the streets, shouldn't it?" I flicked the ash from my cigarette. Some of it landed on her snow-white skin, beautiful. Her whole body trembled. She didn't answer me, just closed her eyes and clingily kissed the side of my neck, whispering, "Husband, love me again." When I was with her, she came when called and left when dismissed. Yet she seemed addicted to playing the role, letting me take whatever I wanted. Looking back now, I was actually pretty scummy to her, but who told her to have impure motives from the start? I was just returning the courtesy. I know how she found out my name. She heard it from Freya, because the Bentley Freya got into back then belonged to Sophia's brother. After her brother made Freya famous, he transferred a full $5 million into my account to shut me up, afraid I'd expose the two of them online. At that point, what was there to say? I kept my word. I stayed quiet, didn't bother them. and never went online to leak anything. I comforted myself, fine, half a year, 5 million in hand, plus beautiful women for company. Which white knight wouldn't envy me? Chapter 7. Sophia might be good at acting, but she was still young after all. For example, back when she used to eat at street stalls with me, she couldn't help showing her disgust at those greasy tables and oil-stained chairs. Disdain often flickered through her brows and eyes. She could never manage the calm, natural ease that Willow had. Just like now, when she was questioning me, she was still subconsciously keeping her distance from the food stall. Willow, on the other hand, laughed in anger instead. I get it now, an ex, right? Sophia looked utterly heartbroken. I'd always known she was good at crying, so I wasn't surprised when her tears came streaming down all at once. What did surprise me was how stunned the members of her little clique were. Wiping her tears as she went, Sophia shouted, "I was only gone for half a month, and you already found someone new. You don't want me anymore?" A huge wave of woe rippled through the crowd. People stopped eating. People stopped heading to class. I could clearly sense phones being raised to film us. I even heard whispers spreading around. Someone said, "Isn't that Willow, the lead singer from that really famous band?" Someone else chimed in, "Looks like it. Figures, it's the entertainment industry. Always messy. Nice, handsome guy. Beautiful women. This kind of jealousy drama is what deserves to be acted out. This wouldn't do. We people who love taking over other people's messes are honest folk. And honest folk can't have their public image collapse. Honest folk usually don't juggle 2 relationships at once, unless they're pushed to the edge. After all, everyone says that once an honest person is pushed too far, there's nothing they wouldn't do." I hurried to clarify, "This has nothing to do with anyone else, Sophia. We broke up a long time ago. A dog that ran away from home on its own for half a month isn't worth looking for anymore, right?" Another burst of flashes went off around us. Sophia choked up. The tears clinging to her thick eyelashes trembled but didn't fall, making her look even more alluring, as if she'd decided to go all in. She suddenly pulled down her collar, revealing the marks below her neck. That patch of pink imprints against her snow-white skin looked just like a collar worn by a little dog. With a smile that wasn't quite a smile, tears that weren't quite tears, she said, "But I am your little dog." Holy shit. That was the involuntary reaction from the onlookers. Holy shit. That was the shrill, panicked scream from Sophia's clique. They shouted, "Sophia, are you insane? If your brother finds out, he'll kill all of us." Chapter 8. But to someone who doesn't love you, even if you slit your wrists, all they'll think is that the red lines on your wrists look kind of pretty. To someone who doesn't care about you, even if you hang yourself, all they'll think is that you're swinging on a swing. So I only said calmly, "Are you done making a scene? If you are, then get lost. Going no contact for half a month counts as a breakup by default where I'm concerned." She shouted, "No, that's not it. I was locked up by my family. I never wanted to break up with you. I even left you a little teddy bear. That's my favorite plush toy," Sophia explained frantically. But the next second, Willow let out a soft laugh and said, "Being locked up, is that a reason? Or just an excuse? If you don't even have the courage to return to your owner's side, how can you be called an obedient little dog?" I was startled. I couldn't let Willow, the beauty I'd just taken over, get angry over an ex. I signaled to Sophia's friends to hold her back and stop her from continuing to embarrass herself. Her friends probably didn't want things to spiral out of control either. They kept restraining her as she struggled nonstop. As I passed by her, I tossed out a sentence to her dazed face. "It's just acting. Don't act for so long that you start believing it yourself." Young miss, who took whom seriously? Anyway. Willow followed behind me as we pushed through the crowd. Once we were away from everyone, she suddenly hugged me, looked up, and smiled. "George, you're amazing." I had to admit, her voice really did have what it takes to be a lead singer. Cool yet seductive. It made my ears itch just listening to it. She was an all-rounder singer with incredible natural conditions. If I could become her manager, I was sure I'd strike it rich. That's right, this honest guy of mine had impure motives too. I just wanted to be her manager. But the very first obstacle on my road to becoming a manager was her management contract. Chapter 9. Willow agreed to take me with her when she went to the company to terminate the contract. I showed her my talent agent certificate and my lawyer's license. I'd been interning at entertainment companies since my sophomore year. Willow flipped through them with little interest and casually set them aside. She said, "If you doubt someone, don't use them. If you use someone, don't doubt them. Let's go." My heart skipped a beat. Even though I'd lied about being her fan, what she did today made me decide that I would seriously listen to every single song on her albums. Being a manager for someone like this, I was sure my future work environment would be full of happiness. Honestly, Willow's contract with the company was easy to dissolve. It was about to expire anyway. The problem was that a best friend she trusted had teamed up with her manager to screw her over, trying to force her to renew an unfair contract. They even got her drunk at a celebration dinner, hoping she'd sign while intoxicated. What they didn't expect was that Willow could actually hold her liquor. Not only did she not get drunk, but after seeing through their scheme, she struggled away and ran off. And then she was picked up by a kind-hearted person, me. What we were going to negotiate today was the compensation issue. The manager wanted her to pay a penalty. I'd already spoken to her former manager once on the phone, but he kept talking in circles and refusing to answer directly, probably afraid of being recorded. So after preparing new evidence, I set a meeting with Willow and went with her to the company. I just hadn't expected that this company was the same one that had made Freya famous, and also the company owned by Sophia's brother, Lucas. Before the car entered the underground parking garage, I saw a gigantic Freya poster hanging on the building. She sat on a chair with her legs crossed, high heels half dangling, wearing a half smile that wasn't quite a smile. Her already flawless features, after meticulous styling, looked like dazzling diamonds, so sharp they seemed capable of cutting you. It made me think of those years when she and I lived in that rented room. Sometimes she'd suddenly lean over and kiss me. I'd ask, puzzled, what she was doing. She'd say cutely, "Can't I want a kiss? Then you can kiss me back." I withdrew my gaze and calmly looked down at the documents in my hands. Sigh. The face of Freya, the first beautiful woman whose mess I took over, was just too memorable, which was why I occasionally found myself reminiscing. Chapter 10. Willow's manager looked quite humble and polite on the surface, but thinking about his methods made the men seem rather despicable. The band member who had colluded with the manager to screw Willow over was also present. She was the bassist. Willow walked into the room and sat down directly, saying only one sentence: "Terminate the contract." The manager smiled without warmth. "Crown is such a big company. Do you really think this contract is that easy to terminate?" I walked out from beside Willow with a pleasant smile and shook his hand. "Hello, my name is George. I'm Willow Liu's new manager, entrusted by Miss Liu. I'm here to negotiate the contract termination with your side." The bassist glanced at me disdainfully, rolled her eyes, and said, "Willow, what? Can't win the lawsuit so you just gave up? You grabbed some random college student from campus to work for you?" I withdrew my hand, still smiling cheerfully. "I'd been working for 3 years already. This kind of comment didn't bother me at all," I said. "Miss Maria, there's no need to question my professional competence. Your own professional level might not be very high, but that doesn't mean mine isn't." Maria's face flushed red. Before she could retort, I turned to Willow's manager. "Martin, we came here today to negotiate sincerely. I believe you are the same. You should also understand who the most important person in this band is. None of us had it easy getting here, hopefully. In the end, we can part on good terms." The manager was smarter than Maria. He looked at me warily. "What do you mean by that?" I smiled and showed them the full footage of how they force-fed Willow alcohol in the private room, along with the shameless things they said when they finally dropped the act. On the screen, Maria's face was flushed from drinking. She spoke softly and gently. "Willow, don't be stupid. You're a girl who came up from the bottom. How can you fight capital? This music dream of yours should have ended long ago. Be realistic. Why not sign such a good contract? Sure, it's tiring, but the money increases. Don't be so high-minded, just nod your head, and you'll have everything." She called a contract where the company took 80% and Willow got 20%. A good contract. The Maria standing in front of us was also red-faced, but I doubted it was from shame. More likely, it was anger. In the end, we terminated the contract peacefully. We agreed that the final concert would still proceed as scheduled. The manager looked unhappy, but he maintained his manners and shook my hand goodbye. Only Maria lingered behind, unwilling to let it go. She sneered at Willow. "You're just a little luckier than me, able to live off your face." Her words disappeared as the elevator doors closed. Chapter 11. In the elevator, I asked Willow, "What did she mean by that? Does she think your achievements come from your looks?" I'd thought Willow's voice was the kind of advantage that anyone who wasn't hearing impaired could recognize. Honestly, the reason I even knew this band in the first place was because of Willow's cover songs. Only later did I listen to their original tracks. They weren't bad, but with Willow in the band, it still felt like a waste of talent. Willow pursed her lips and said, "Maybe it's because I used my face to find you too." Ding. The elevator reached the ground floor. I casually took out a cigarette and smiled at her. "Then I hope we can keep it this way. Happy cooperation. I'll treat you to a meal." She tilted her head and smiled back at me. "Sure, big brother." And then, the very next second, "George?" I looked up. Standing in front of me was the woman on this company's giant posters, the person I'd kept for half a year, the young model who was my first love. Those peach blossom eyes that could look at a dog with affection were staring straight at me in a daze. Best Actress Freya. Chapter 12. Freya was once described by countless film fans as having eyes that always held a hazy, unspoken tenderness, like there was something she wanted to say but never quite did. When I picked her up back then, I didn't even have money to pay for a hospital bed. So we made do by spending the night in the outpatient corridor. The next morning, I woke up with my hand pressed against the back of her slightly cold hand. I clearly saw something sparkling in her eyes. Half jokingly, she said, "No one has ever treated me this well before." Then she rewarded me with a kiss. Even now, I don't know whether that was all just acting, or a rare moment of genuine feeling from her. I looked at her, looked into her eyes, looked at the shocked crowd behind her. I frowned slightly and said, "Hello, long time no see. Are you going in? If so, let's get off first." Freya snapped out of it, stepped aside in a bit of a panic. I put my arm around Willow and, as we passed her, I saw Freya's fingers curl, as if she wanted to grab onto something. But very quickly, she gave up. We walked out of the company building. As the elevator doors slowly closed, I didn't turn back. Still, I could feel someone's gaze fixed on me. Beside me, Willow suddenly asked, "Another ex?" I put on a mock sigh and said, "Well, pretty good quality, right?" Willow nodded. "Better than contestant number 1. I was speechless. Wait, was she talking about Sophia as contestant number 1? Then she was wrong. Freya was the real number 1. The days that followed flew by, and I had no time to think about which contestant was which. Freya didn't come looking for me. With so many endorsements under her name, anyone with a brain would know to cherish their reputation. Willow didn't plan to sign with another major company. She wanted to set up her own studio. I signed a manager's contract with her, and together we started building a studio from scratch. When people are extremely busy, they don't really have the energy to think about romance. Sometimes, when the urge came up, I'd invite Willow to my place. Other times, I'd go to hers. She grew more and more familiar with me, and more attuned to what I wanted. With both body and mind fully relaxed, my career began to thrive. Sure enough, I could only truly bring out my talents in this kind of state. Today, Willow and I went to a cocktail party. Lately, I'd been attending banquets with Willow quite often. I'd gone to some with Sophia before too, but back then I was mostly just there to eat and drink. Now, I was there to look for collaboration opportunities. There was one thing Maria got wrong. Willow wasn't someone who came from the bottom. That thought crossed my mind after I returned from discussing a collaboration and ran into Willow arguing with her mother. I'd known for a long time that Willow was a rich girl. Because I said it before, I'd attended banquets with Sophia. That time, I'd seen Willow there. It was a banquet hosted by the Ito family. After eating and drinking my fill, I got a bit bored and went up to the second floor for some air. In an unlocked room upstairs, I saw Willow. She was wearing a pure white dress, dressed like a princess, playing a sorrowful piece with a melancholy look in her eyes. She glanced up at me once. Her hands didn't stop playing, and I didn't leave. I listened quietly until the end, then gently closed the door and left. She was the Ito family's second daughter, but she took her mother's surname, Willow Lu, so I knew she would definitely be able to stand on stage again. Chapter 13. I didn't comment on her argument with her mother, and she didn't bring it up either. Everyone has a few little secrets. That year, our studio gradually built up a reputation. Willow blew up after appearing on a music variety show and became a top-tier star overnight. She was already beautiful to begin with, bold and flamboyant in personality. Add to that the halo she carried from being in a band, and she attracted a huge number of fans. But she didn't listen to me and build a single persona. Instead, during a press interview, she casually tucked her hair behind her ear and said lightly, "Isn't there a saying online that I look like someone who's always in a relationship, just not in a long-term one?" Well, they're wrong. The reporter maintained a professional smile, clearly caught off guard by something not in the script, and tried to steer the conversation back. "So what you mean is, at the moment, you don't have a boyfriend?" Willow wagged her finger, her beautiful eyes fixed on the reporter and on the camera. With an easy smile, she said, "What I mean is, I do have a long-term boyfriend." 3 minutes later, her words were all over the internet. 5 minutes later, they were trending. My phone practically exploded with calls, all asking about Willow's sudden self-disclosure. Thankfully, it didn't affect her work. Maybe the public already had realistic expectations about the industry. As long as it wasn't anything too wild, this kind of thing didn't really count as scandal. The only issue was that some of her fans started digging into who this long-term boyfriend was. That task turned out to be way too easy, because she had never hidden it. She'd openly linked arms with me at the movies before. She'd worn sunglasses and kissed me at tourist spots, taking photos, even pictures of her inexplicably posing with me under Freya's advertisements, making heart gestures, shot straight onto the trending charts. Freya's fans barged in to comment. "I knew it, our Queen's fans are everywhere in the entertainment industry." Other fans commented, "She's really pretty. Her boyfriend, he's a man. A good match. Blessings." I was speechless. I finally let out a sigh of relief. Thankfully, it hadn't affected our work, but I relaxed too early. 5 minutes later, my phone completely crashed. Freya's first love, firmly occupied the #1 spot on the trending list. The forums went down. Chapter 14. I sat in a private room wearing sunglasses, waiting for Freya. She was still firmly at #1 on the trending list. Below it followed a string of related topics. Freya's first love. Freya, Willow's manager. Freya and Willow are love rivals. Willow, deliberate provocation. I rubbed my temples. My head was pounding. I took another sip of alcohol. No idea what madness possessed Freya. She suddenly posted a photo online. In the photo, a man was smiling brightly. His looks were still a bit youthful, his clothes low-key, yet his handsomeness was impossible to hide. Facing the camera, his smile was clean and sincere as he extended a huge bouquet of roses. You could tell he was someone who loved being photographed. His eyes were full of affection. And you could also tell the person behind the camera loved him deeply, because he looked especially vivid and alive in the frame. Seeing that photo, I genuinely wanted to wish them everlasting happiness. If the man in the picture hadn't been me. Willow reposted that update. She didn't say anything, just added a question mark. Her comment section instantly filled with question marks as well. The door opened. Freya walked in lightly. She was only wearing a mask, which she removed once inside. She blinked at me and said, "George, last time I didn't get the chance to say it, long time no see." I snapped. "Freya, are you out of your damn mind?" I had no mood for reminiscing and got straight to the point. "What the hell were you thinking? Posting my photo?" She tilted her head and replied, "Why can't I post it? What's wrong with posting a picture of my boyfriend?" I took a deep breath, clenched my teeth, and said, "Did you lose your memory? We broke up 7 or 8 years ago." I felt completely unable to understand her logic. Was this woman insane? She shook her head instead and said, "George, you don't need to worry. This won't affect you at all. The one it affects is Willow." With evident interest, she took out her phone and showed it to me. "Look, they're not scolding you at all. They're all calling Willow a homewrecker." I exploded with anger. First of all, Willow's work is my work. If she's affected, then I'm affected. Do you know how much money I'd have to pay in damages? She interrupted me. "So what? If there's compensation to pay, I can transfer it to you," Freya said urgently. "All the money I've earned over the years, I can give it to you." There was no way to reason with her. I stood up and pulled the door open, ready to leave. But the moment the door opened, Freya lunged forward and hugged me. Her tears fell in heavy drops, spreading damp stains across my clothes. Choking back sobs, she said, "I regretted it long ago, George. I've wanted to come back to you for so long. Back then, I was too insecure. My family, my background, my past work, myself, I was a mess. I was afraid that in the end, you'd look down on me too." Lucas only valued my abilities. Between him and me, it was purely a superior, subordinate relationship. "I've only ever loved you." I paused. For that belated apology, I stopped for 3 seconds, then pulled the door open and walked out. What she didn't know was that between her and me, there had never been any misunderstanding. Lucas had already come looking for me a long time ago. Chapter 15. The first time Lucas came looking for me, it was to persuade me to break up with Freya, not because he had his eye on her, but because the image he wanted to build for her didn't allow for a boyfriend. He gave me a sum of money. I took it gladly. He took his leave with impeccable manners and left me a meeting gift, a watch that was outrageously expensive for a student, in exchange for the bracelet Freya had braided for me with her own hands. The second time he came looking for me, it was because of his sister. He couldn't help sighing. "George, you really are something. I admire you." This time, he gave even more money. I agreed even more readily. He smiled, his tone full of appreciation. "Actually, I would have supported you marrying my sister. Unfortunately, Sophia's too wild by nature. You two aren't suited." This latest scandal brought the two of us back to the same table again. He looked a little helpless. "Freya's contract is about to expire anyway. She's not renewing it." I didn't really want to spend more money on PR. It was my sister who went crazy and paid for it herself. I hadn't expected to hear Sophia's name again. Lucas smiled slyly. "Truth be told, I think highly of you. This has nothing to do with anyone else. It's just that you really do have the ability to make money. No matter how big the scandal, with enough money, it can always be suppressed. No matter how deep the grudge, with enough money, people can still sit down and talk peacefully." We entered a new collaboration with Crown. Willow had no objections. Business is business. Sophia would use work as an excuse to come see me. She'd deliberately wear low-cut clothes to draw my gaze. No reason not to look. Freya gradually faded from the spotlight, filming only 1 movie a year. I often saw her near my place. As for Willow, she never needed me to take responsibility. She never said much. If I needed her, she was there. The studio took in another batch of new trainees. I flipped open their profiles and froze for a moment. The girl in the ID photo had youthful, unpolished features, but she looked about 80% like Freya, except her eyes were far more seductive. One look told you she wasn't someone to mess with. Her name was Anna. Suddenly, I thought back to the year I had just turned 18, when I met Freya. Freya came from a small town. She never went to college. After graduating high school, she went straight to work in nightclubs. She had the most cliché reasons for ending up there: a gambling father, a sick mother, and a broken herself. She even had a younger sister still in elementary school. After we finished, she told me all this with teary eyes. I stared at her, my eyes full of sympathy. But the very next second, she lit a cigarette and burst out laughing. "Kid, you really believed all that?" "Believe it? Of course I did. Because as an adopted child myself, I also had a younger brother. How should I put it? Just bad luck. After my parents, who were told they couldn't have children, adopted me, they unexpectedly got pregnant. I became the extra one. I used to love picking up stray animals. Later, I stopped, because my brother always liked taking what was mine. Even when I was very young, I was already thinking, I pick people up. I pick women up. I even pick up beautiful women. I refused to believe that some foul-mouthed little brat could compete with me for women. From that moment on, the idea of taking over so-called pure and innocent beauties that others had messed up took root in my mind. Looking at Anna's seductive brows and eyes, I gave a faint smile.